recently taken if yeah, I don't know, you know, I feel like it's an interesting thing, because Star Trek was my first movie, and so a lot of actors will spend years building a career to be able to do a movie as big as Star Trek, and for me it was like such a weird first movie. I feel like I'm kind of interested in a little bit of reverse engineering right now, which is like smaller movies that are not in space, or where I don't have any superpowers. Yeah, you know, I don't know, I feel like those kinds of experiences tend to find their way into the lives that they're supposed to find their way into, I think, in a large sense. So if it's meant to be, I feel like it'll be, but I don't have my eyes on anything specific right now. No, thank you. This young lady right here, I don't know. Yeah, you. I'm always in a tough spot when people ask me this question, because I don't like to encourage bizarre behavior. And I feel like if I acknowledge the bizarrest behavior that has ever been bizarred upon me, then there will be perhaps repeat performances of similar bizarre behavior. I don't know, people have like followed me on the street for a long time, and I'm not aware of it until like, you know, like I'm like listening to music in New York or something, and then I'm like, why are you walking next to me? Say things to me that make me really uncomfortable. But I will say this, I will say that my fan base, this entire room included, has generally been really, really respectful of me and my desire to maintain some level of normalcy in my life, and I hope that continues. I haven't had any experience with any fan that has made me, you know, like not appreciate fans, so that's nice. People are eccentric and people are, yeah, give yourselves a hand. I'm very grateful for everybody's support, and I love the fact that, like, you know, you guys are all really excited about this stuff that we're here to talk about, Star Trek and the comic book stuff and Heroes and even American Horror Story. But I love my fans' willingness to go with me wherever I go, because I've done a lot of different stuff, you know, and so many people from this world have supported that work. The work I do as a producer and Margin Call and All Is Lost, which is coming out in October, and you know, my theater work. A lot of people traveled to New York to see me do Angels in America a couple of years ago, and I hope more of you will come to New York to see me do this play. But you know, I feel grateful. I feel like, you know, I'm very clear, I've said it before, I'm very clear about my boundaries, I'm very clear about what I'm able to offer and what I'm not willing or able to offer, and I think that served me, so hopefully we'll all live in harmony moving forward, is right? Something. Okay, in the back. Yeah, you. No, the other one. You. Yes, you. You get sad, buddy. You get sad. What do I think of? What do you like to know? I don't know. I mean, it's every day is a different. Every time is different. You know, it depends on why the character is having an emotional response to something. It depends on where I am as an actor. It's like a little bit complicated and kind of hard to talk about. I think every actor has a different process, and every actor has different experience of that question. So it's tough to put a point on it. And now people are flashing lights at me. So that works this round. You with the flashing light. No, that person, the other person. Sorry, you can be next. But that person behind you, yeah. And then you. And then you that stood up. Okay, go ahead. Thank you. Preemptive applause. I'll take it. I think, well, I mean, Sarah Paulson is, let's get a round of applause for Sarah Paulson. I love working with Sarah, and we got to do so much twisted, disgusting, amazing stuff together this season that I would say pretty much all of it was fun. But I don't know, my favorite, I don't know if I have a favorite. There was sort of like the episode where Thredson reveals himself, and the turn happens, I think it was maybe episode 5 or 6 or something, was probably my favorite episode to shoot. I loved building the character in a way that people had no idea what was going to happen, and then sort of unraveling it, you know. So that was my favorite one, yeah. Someone's holding up a painting. Yeah, that. Oh yeah, sorry. No, this person was supposed to be next, and then I'll come over there. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, you. No. Oh no, I'm really in a cluster over here. The woman that stood up. You. That's a good question. I don't know, it's weird. It's weird to be in a room with this many people caring what I have to say. I don't begrudge it, I like it. I mean, I guess it's kind of cool that this many people care what I have to say. But you know, I really do, I think, just try to live it like a really, this is one thing, and when I come to something like this, I know what I'm getting into. But when I leave, it's like, you know, I try to take, you know, I live as normal a life as I can, and I don't, there's no, for me, the line between my public self and my private self is very clear. I don't need this kind of exposure, or this kind of, I don't thrive on it in a way that's like a narcissistic kind of like devouring of this attention, but I also recognize that you're here because I am a conduit of something else, you know. I represent something for everybody in this room that is a part of the characters that I play and a part of the projects that I work on. And I love to talk about my work. I love working. I'm so blessed and grateful to be able to do it at this level. So I think I have a pretty, I think psychologically, I have a pretty healthy relationship to it and a lot of therapy. Okay, that person who's clearly not going to take no for an answer. I would say pretty much nothing is how I envisioned it past, like when I got out of school and I moved to Los Angeles, I had very specific goals that I set for myself, which were to get jobs, right? Like when I got Heroes, I said to my agents, I got Heroes in September, right? When television generally comes back on the air, like new seasons of shows. And I said to my agents that August, here's what I want. I want to play a very interesting character in a recurring capacity on a new show that is a huge hit. That's literally what I said to my agents. And then that happened. And I don't think it happened because I said it. I think it happened because they listened and they put me out for things that I was right for, and that happened to be the job that I got. From that point on, like I didn't, that was it for me. Like, oh, okay, like I did what I needed to do, what I wanted to do, and then it was about setting a new goal. But then Star Trek happened, and then it sort of ran away from me, and my experience became something else. So all of this stuff, I never would have imagined what it would be like. I would have never dared to imagine what this would be like. So I've just had to roll with a lot of the stuff that came after Heroes and Star Trek in terms of, you know, the exposure and the fame element of it. But I've tried to do it with as much, you know, just ease as possible. And I think as long as you stay open to what's possible, then anything's possible, and you can sort of fill up any experience that presents itself. So I would say that, you know, but the thrill of getting to do this kind of work, getting to work consistently, that is something that, the feeling that it gives me is something that I'd always dreamed of and always hoped for, and I'm so grateful that I actually get to feel it every day. Yeah, thanks. I've been neglecting this side of the room now. Green top pointing at self.
I love you and your eyebrows, first of all.
Is that kind of a superhero costume, or is that just a top? Oh, it's just a top. Okay, well, from here you look like a superhero, so well done.
So earlier you were saying that it was your belief that people should be able to live and love the way they want to, and that's something you strive to live for.
it's absolutely abominable what's happening there. It's archaic, it's despicable, it's horrifying. It makes me grateful every day that we live in a country that, while still struggling with the limitations of thought, has made incredible progress, certainly in the past year alone, in with regards to equality. I think it's everybody's responsibility, gay and straight, to stand up for human rights. And I think people in America, gay or straight, have a responsibility and an opportunity to voice their opposition to this kind of unfathomable oppression that... I've been to Russia. I mean, had I known the depths and the degree, you know, I mean, I was in Russia not that long ago, actually, which is horrifying to me, you know? Yeah, so I don't know, I mean, I think it's a very... The rest of the world needs to serve as a beacon for that place, which is, in its nature, I think, such a monolithic, concrete kind of place, you know? I don't know how else to say it. Having been there, I just feel like it's really like, you can feel the hardness of the thinking there. And I think that it's the responsibility of the rest of the world that is, in so many ways, look at so many other places on the planet right now. In Europe, all through Europe, and New Zealand, and all through America, the states that are just opening themselves up to this inevitable wave of equality. I just, you know, it's just, we have to stay vigilant. And again, for me, visibility is key, you know? People who are willing to stand up. Wentworth Miller, who just stood up the other day to say, like, I will not abide this, I can't stand by anymore. Like, that's what it takes, you know? So props to him, and props to people like him, and props to people in this room that are willing to stand up to that, because it's not cool. It's the opposite of cool. Someone's waving their hat in the back. You know what was hard for me to do in 24? Keep my mouth closed. Really, the DP always used to be like, close your mouth. Because I used to stand like this, like... And then I would stand like this. 24 was a real learning curve for me. That was the first time I was ever on a show for a whole season, and it was challenging in that regard. Also because it was a pretty peripheral character, so I don't really feel like, you know, his arc was very important to the season. What'd you say? I know, I always say I went home from work and never came back again. But yeah, you know, it was a good beginning to my understanding what it means to be on a show and have to sort of create a character week after week, yeah. You have a sword in your hand. I really don't know. Again, it's like a weird thing. Like, I look at material all the time. I read stuff all the time. There's a couple of new plays, actually, that wouldn't mean anything to you if I talked about them, that I've read that I feel like could be really interesting films. And in a couple of cases, I'm working on talking about them with the playwrights. But, you know, nothing classic that I can think of that comes to mind, although, you know, I love the idea of like Shakespeare adaptations into film. You know, I would love to do some classical Shakespeare stuff, or, you know, I like you know, like Vanya on 42nd Street, this movie that is based on Uncle Vanya, Chekhov play. You know, that kind of stuff is interesting to me. So maybe something like that will come down the pike. Who knows? Where? You say here. Okay, go ahead. As opposed to cosplay. Nightmare. Yeah. I'm constantly, that is a total nightmare. No, this is not a nightmare. I'm not using it to describe this experience, but like, if I like get really frustrated like in the morning, I always know what kind of day it's going to be when I walk my dogs. Because if I'm like in the city and I'm walking my dogs and like, you know, you have to clean up after them, or like one day. Can I really tell this story? But one day I was walking my dog, Noah, and he made a poop. And I was like talking to my friend and getting the bag out to clean it up. And like my friend is here and the dog is here and the poop is here. And so I'm like, yeah, anyway, I don't know. And I'm like getting the bag out and I gotta open the bag to put it, you know, to put it in the thing. And then I turn around and this woman is walking down the sidewalk, listening to her headphones and not paying attention to anything. And she's like this, and she steps right in the mess. And she's wearing sandals. Oh, it was the worst. It was a nightmare. Probably more of a nightmare for her, but also a nightmare for me. Anyway, that day so I went home and I was like, that was a nightmare. It's a terrible story. I'm getting a watch, which means we're done. I have time for 2 more questions.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like a lottery situation. Okay, you seem like you're not trying too hard, which I like. But you have to stand up so everyone can hear you. Oh, well then, okay, sorry. Awkward for who? Oh. What's my feeling on what? The fact that people do that? Yeah, this is really awkward, but I think it's a little more awkward for you than it is for me. I hate to tell you. What are you asking me? Kirk and Spock or me and Chris? Be clear, what's happening? So you're talking about fan fiction. So what are my thoughts on fan fiction? Oh, well, I'm glad you asked. Because when I was in Ireland, I was giving an interview and somebody asked me about it and I said something that some people misinterpreted as disrespectful. And so I would like to say here for the record that I mean no disrespect to people who either write or read fan fiction. I have absolutely no interest in it. It doesn't interest me. I understand how it interests other people. I respect their desire to be interested in it. I think both Kirk and Spock, and definitely me and Chris, are only good friends. And any suggestion otherwise has more to say about the person making that suggestion than it does about either the characters or the actors. One more question. I don't know. Okay, you right here. Work related to the fashion industry. I mean, I like fashion. I like to meet and work with different designers, which I've had the great pleasure of being able to do. But work with the fashion industry. I actually am a contributor to Style.com as a style maps contributor. But I'm so far behind on my deadline that I actually have to go write the piece that was due 2 Fridays ago, which is what I'm going to do. So yeah, it's something that I'm interested in and something that maybe I'll do a little bit more of. But we'll see. Thank you for your questions, you guys. Thank you so much for all of your time. I really appreciate